Today I'm making a sort of difficult video. I don't know if I wanted to make it or not really, but I think it's important to talk about anyway. Just playing Genshin Impact because that's what lonely people do. I think anyway. I was recently shared a video with my friend about male loneliness and it bothered me a lot. Not because the contents were wrong, but because it's just stupidly true. And it just made me wonder, like, what can you do? And I do have solutions, but it's not perfect, obviously. I wanted to talk about the content of the video is basically discussing. I think what it was from memory anyway, was about how statistics show that our loneliness is at an all-time high. It got me thinking, like, why is this a thing? Like, surely it just should be equal. Like, loneliness should be low in both men and women. Apparently not, and that's terrible. Admittedly, the video thumbnail was a bit sort of suggestive, saying, "Did we fail men?" And this was, of course, coming from a woman, so it was a bit questionable on that basis. I'll admit that. But she actually got into the contents of the video and talked about why male loneliness is a problem, and she brought up some really good points, some which are pretty irrefutable, to be honest. With my glasses, why not moving, but yeah. And the difficult thing was just seeing all this denial that men are lonely or something like that. It's tough to see because I'm someone with non-verbal autism and I can't communicate the way others do. Essentially, I'm seen as inadequate by society standards because I can't communicate, and obviously I can't get a job like this. The only reason I'm able to talk is because I'm in my comfort zone, and I don't have any pressure really. I can just speak my mind and be in my element and sort of thing. But people expect me to be out of that and suddenly become like this, like be able to talk and become comfortable. But that isn't how it works. All that's just how autism works. It's complicated. So like the video was really resonating with me to the point where I was getting depressed, and still am to an extent, even though I'm in a better mood than I have been for the last few days. I'm still struggling, and that's because really that I am lonely. But I don't have someone to keep me company, and so I'm sort of working on seeing if I can get a companion animal to sort of help with that, but I don't know, the way things go usually with me is that the world is actually against me. Miracles have to happen, otherwise nothing's going to happen, pretty much. And that's a difficult thing, because ever since I was young, I've just felt this way. Just felt things always go wrong. It's led to complex PTSD and things like this. And I just feel nothing's going to change. And then I get accused of like beating myself up, and well, that's saying that I'm not taking help that I get, which I do. But again, with autism, it's different. It's not the same solution for everyone. There's no one size fits all, or whatever you call it, which is a common mistake I see a lot of people making, especially ironically on the left. Like religious people aren't even like this, so just keep that in mind. And the reason I bring up political leaning is because it's often the thing that causes these issues. So you have people on the right who are talking to like lonely men on the left, and that's resonating with them, so they just go to the right because they can get what they want, what they need actually. And this ties into self-care, like you can't actually blame them. And this is why people turn to religion as well, that has like servitude and stuff, like Islam, for example. Come and say it's horrific, really. Just had to pause for a sec there. Fuck. Um, yeah, the thing with religion is it's horrific, but that's what it's there to do. It's there to control you. It's there to control others, and so people follow it because they can get what they want / need. Sometimes it's grievous, sometimes it's not. And so people just go to the right, really, and the only reason I'm not is because I'm more empathetic, and I can't spell empathetic without pathetic. Fuck's sake. It's a good icebreaker for our depressants as well. Anyway. It's just tough, really. It's worse because I'm non-verbal and autistic. And technically special needs, but not so much so that I can't make a living myself. There's certainly something out there for me that I can fulfill, like a purpose and something. I don't feel the purpose because I'm lonely. I don't have many friends. I've only ever had 4 relationships in 10 years, maybe more actually. 12 years. It's like a relationship every 3 years, technically. Average. I don't seek it anymore because I'm just fed up. People aren't listening to me, people aren't giving me a chance, so what do you expect me to do? Again, I can't communicate the way others do, and that expectation is damaging to us. Damaging to everyone. And there is this other thing that I need to go into briefly. It's also the blame game. For some reason, people on the left love to play this, and I don't get it. Because it can be really damaging. It can be so damaging that it's just impossible to recover from, and it actually does cause a lot of the things we see now, like suicide, depression, drug use, you name it. People with problems are always trying to redeem themselves or cope. And there's only very few ways that they can, and that's why people turn to the right in religion. It's because things are overstimulating. Ironically, last night I had a thought about this, and I was thinking about how you deal with addiction. How do you beat it, essentially? The way to beat it, simply put, is something equivalent or stronger. It sounds dumb and maybe it is wrong, but looking at it the way I've known it, addiction definitely isn't simple, and it requires something significant. So that's basically how you break it, and because people aren't offering things that are equivalent or stronger than that, it's out of kindness, you see people not having that problem dealt with, so it's strange. And it's similar to loneliness now. Like the problem with male loneliness isn't that they don't have enough girlfriends or sex, but sex isn't really the biggest point. Like most people, or most men anyway, are seeking companionship. Which you can get with pets, to be fair, but it isn't ideal because, you know, your heart can still be broken and isn't the same, like, don't have the same communication. Like, a pet can't talk back to you, I'll tell you things and stuff. Difficult again. I'm going to bring that up a lot because it is real problem. It's truly difficult. But with playing the blame game, you end up making people closet themselves pretty much. Well, it's similar to how, with like pedophiles and maps, the ones who offend are often the minority. I mean the minority in the sense of people who have been convicted. Because most people who are convicted are apparently not unattractive people or pedophiles. Apparently. They could be wrong again, but that's what I've seen. Oftentimes, like, the blames can be wrong and it often leads to nothing. What you need is a solution for a treatment, not fucking blames or stuff. It reminds me of what people said about autism, actually. Swiftly leads on to that. But autism, autistic people get the blame a lot for things like sexual assault. And that's just wrong because most autistic people aren't like that. And the autistic people who give other autistic people a bad name are, unfortunately, they have autistic traits, but they're not similar to us exactly. I'm not saying that there isn't any blame, there is definitely blame. But some of it isn't always like, I don't know how you put it, controllable. Like, impulsivity is a trait of autism, and that's something that you have to get used to. Like, for example, I sort of had my heart broken briefly by someone autistic. And she is a lovely person still. But there are points where she's obviously having a meltdown and being impulsive. And there's some sort of paranoia, to be honest. But the thing with her is that I understand that this is just how she is, this is how autism speaks to her, and paranoia. So it's not her fault necessarily. And people trying to make it out that it is her fault are just stupid, ignorant. They just don't understand. And as a result, I don't think they'll ever be happy, let alone her. Even though she's been in bad relationships and stuff. Just gross what people think of people with autism. It's not something we can control. I can't suddenly go outside and start speaking. Also, I have processing delays, so speaking is even harder. That's why it just seems so abnormal to people. And yet, when people speak to me in this, it's mainly like women, by the way. I didn't have many female friends when I was young, but suddenly as an adult, I have many. But women in particular, the ones who do speak to me, end up liking me. And that sort of makes me realise that, again, people are stupid and ignorant, and the most accepting spaces are those that are most progressive. And unfortunately, left leaning doesn't inherently mean progressive. That's something I've noticed, unfortunately. I don't know why that is, to be honest, because it just seems to go hand in hand, but most people want to pick and choose. You shouldn't pick and choose because that's bias, and bias, as we know from history, is damaging. The right way to deal with things is to look at demonstrable evidence, and that's why I'm going to bring out this topic. And with regards to blame, to answer the question about are women to blame, no, it's an entire group of people, and the entire group is left, put it bluntly. And that's because people on the left are ignoring people on the left. Let's put it really. As for solutions, because Siobhan had also made the response to the backlash, we're just mocking people again for male loneliness. And people saying like it's good that they're committing suicide. What? Have I just woken up in some fucking hellscape dystopia? Makes no sense. And that does sort of make me scared to an extent. Because it shows that I'm not safe here. I'm not safe anywhere, and because I haven't quote unquote found my tribe, I have nowhere to go. I have nobody to support me. People think I'm being ridiculous when I speak about problems I'm facing and start saying like, oh, think about people in Africa who don't have shelter. People think about people in poverty. I do think of them. That's the thing, and I have to deal with my own issues before I can take care of theirs. I have to be in an adequate place. I think I'm in a more better place now than I ever was, especially now I'm our race. But the lack of friends again doesn't help. I need friends. And glasses. Again, stuffing. Well, stuff. And where was I? Memory loss. Great. Always a lot new. I don't know, obvious solutions. I have to say that the loneliness problem is bigger than you think. Because it doesn't look like it on the outside, especially when you see guys roaming the streets with friends, but that's the problem. They have friends, and we don't. And your generalisation that men are easy to get friends and stuff, or men usually have friends, is not correct. Again, the loneliness problem isn't about relationships, it's about friendships more than it is relationships. Even though relationships are its own problem, and also being picky is damaging for that. But you have to be with someone who you might have conflicts with. That's what my last relationship was like. Just, there's all these good traits about that person. If I didn't give it a chance, then how would I ever know? I could have stumbled upon a possible marriage and something like that. But because it didn't last, I don't know, so neither was she. And that's something that's both of our losses, really. I only learned like a few months ago that argument was working with a spouse or friend is really to do with wanted to see the best in them. Wanted to see that they're not harming others. And at the end of the day, the person who's right is the one who demonstrably proves it beyond reasonable doubt. So you have to try things, really. Again, the damaging thing that the people who are lonely are the minorities within the minorities. So if somehow male loneliness is a minority, which I don't think it is, you've got a minority within that. You've got disabled people who are lonely. That's fucking terrifying to think about as someone who is disabled. Some disabled people don't struggle, but the point is that people ignore disabled people because they're worried that they're a burden, which is dumb. People are just selfish as well. I've noticed this on the left as well. People just don't want to take time out of their day to do something nice, and if it existed, I'd sign up to some sort of loneliness charity thing and speak to someone. Actually, personally, I've spoken to someone who is lonely, who's lost a best friend, not through death, but just some misunderstanding from what I could tell. And I've kept him company since, basically. And I just do that out of kindness because nobody else will do something. Because I've made posts similar to this and people haven't done the same thing, so I'm like, oh, but this is probably happening to this guy now, so I might as well do something. It's difficult. But I give him a chance, and whilst I can't comment on how nice of a person he is, at least I've done something to stop loneliness. Briefly, anyway. And that's better than nothing, and this is what people on the left are lacking, really. They lack the strong will, and there's a lot of defeatism as well. I think also that ties into loneliness as well, because people who are lonely think, to me, I guess, like the world is against them. The only reason I don't give up is because I truly believe in things. I'm very strong-willed. The solution again is direct action. Once again, history has shown the way you deal with it. I just hope people begin to listen, begin to seek out people. And some advice for people who are out in public and looking for friends, or even have friends but notice something off. Please pick the people who are quiet, because the people who are quiet probably are the ones who need support most, and the people who are lonely for that matter. There's probably a reason why there's that trait or trope even, not trait, in movies and TV where people go to bars and getting drunk, get drunk even, not talking to another person. That's because that's how people coped back in the day. That's life experience. And that's the amazing thing about writing sometimes. Sometimes the life experience ends up making its way into the writing, the story. It ends up happening. That's why some shows seem ahead of its time. The Futurama definitely is, but unfortunately it took a centrist view, which ironically isn't very progressive. But I do think it might also be accurate. Again, the point is you need to do things that benefit others so you can benefit yourself. Because I don't think you can get very far about it. I'm going to wrap this up here. I've spoken enough. I'm just tired of loneliness, really. Definitely want friends, but people won't give me the chance. And it can take a bit out of me to begin to communicate. But the thing that helps me communicate is being asked questions and talking about common interests. I just don't know how much I can say. I'll just make a fake story with a similar sort of topic. I know someone who's sort of special needs, who needs that support, who needs the communication, who can't speak himself. And basically what I've done is I've taken the effort to visit them, to give them support and communicate. And because I know they struggle to talk, I end up talking to them, basically asking questions or talking about the common interests that we have. And he doesn't talk much, but I understand this. That's the thing. I think the moral of the story is you need to have patience and you need to understand. Otherwise you're just being a complete cunt, to put it bluntly. Not hard to do. You just get to know someone and understand how they act. And sometimes people are assholes just inherently, but sometimes it's not in control. I don't think people ignoring you is a sign of like ill will or something malicious. It just means there's something deeper. There's something beneath the surface, I should say. So that's why you need to sort of like dig them out, pretty much. So yeah, I'm interested to know what people think, but I will be removing comments that are mocking and just outright denying this when it is inherently true. To make this clear, I'm not doing it because I want to control a narrative. I'm doing it because I'm fed up of biases. As much as you might have had experiences with men, and I certainly have, I've been sexually assaulted online. You need to basically get help and then help others. Give them a chance. Because if you're looking in the wrong places, then unfortunately it's only you to blame. And I have to say this to someone myself. Because they looked in the wrong places and unfortunately got shit for it. And that's out of concern. I've just said it because I'm honest and I am concerned about them and I do care. That's why I talk about this topic. It is a serious topic and it needs addressing. Yeah, and that's everything. So I just hope people take this into consideration and take the advice. This is a real epidemic. It needs to be addressed.